we're looking forward to talking a little bit with Juan Pablo Montoya. And one of the things that I love so much about Juan Pablo is just his versatility. And if you start thinking about race car drivers and their versatility, there's a handful of them that you can name that can basically get in anything and win in anything. The first one that comes to my mind is Mario Andretti. The second one that comes to my mind would be AJ Foyt. And then you start thinking about the modern day gladiators that could do that. Tony Stewart, for sure, could get in a car and win in just about anything. But nobody really, since Mario Andretti, has done it quite like Juan Pablo Montoya has done. In fact, only Juan Pablo Montoya, Dan Gurney, and Mario Andretti can say that they won in NASCAR, IndyCar, and F1. So very, very versatile driver. And in fact, I was thinking through this a little bit on the way home. I don't know that there's another driver in the world that has run on as many different configurations in as many different cars at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway than Juan Pablo Montoya. He's run and won the Indianapolis 500 twice. He's run on the road course in an Indy car. He's run on a different road course in an F1 car. He's run on a road course in a Grand Am car at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's run a Cup car on the Oval. So Juan Pablo Montoya has done just about everything you can do at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, including his 2 wins there at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I remember a couple of Big Machine Vodka 400s where Juan Pablo Montoya was really the guy to beat at the Brickyard. So for whatever reason, he seems to understand how to drive at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And like I said, one of the things I love so much about him is his versatility. And he is in the category of Dan Gurney and Mario Andretti, which is pretty impressive. And as I say that, I believe we are now joined by the 2-time Indianapolis 500 champion, Juan Pablo Montoya. Juan Pablo, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I've actually been here. I listened to everything you were saying. I was just waiting for you guys to promote me to panelist.
They say you got to raise your hand, to be a panelist. Well, hey, thank you for joining us. We're all living in this strange world where we can't get out and do what we love so much. And I was just talking about your versatility and how I don't know that anybody else has been on the Speedway in as many different configurations as you have.
I know.
I'm going to just start out with a question that I think a little bit about Alexander Rossi. Wins the 2016 Indianapolis 500. I don't think he really knew what winning the 500 meant. And as he's gone on, I think he's learning more. You were in a similar situation. You come in your first year as a rookie, lead 167 laps. It's a breeze for you to win the Indianapolis 500. You win it again 15 years later, which I think is the longest stretch between victories for a driver at the Speedway. A lot of that because you were off running other things and not running the Speedway every year. But did it mean more to win it the second time, or did you understand immediately what it meant differently than you did the first year?
No, honestly, the first time for me was more of a distraction because, I had just won the championship. And I won the championship with Honda, with Ganassi in '99. And for 2000, we changed chassis and engines, and we were very quick, but the thing was breaking down every race. So it was really frustrating. So at that point for me, it was more, we need to fix it. And then they go, okay, we're going to run Indy as well. And in my mind is like, I don't want to go to Indy. It's a distraction for our program. And Chip said, we're going. So we're going. I remember I came the Monday of the practice. We arrived in the morning and they said, we're going to do some laps today. So you can do the rookie test tomorrow morning. I went out and I got up to speed. And they said, okay, you don't need to do the rookie test. I'm probably one of the few guys that never done the rookie test.
I had not heard that story before. You had a great May. You get that win for Chip Ganassi. Do you remember what Chip said to you in victory lane? I mean, that was a pretty big deal for him to win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
It was a big deal for everyone. You know what I mean? I remember because we were like the outsiders. We were not welcome. We were, at that point you had the IRL and you had the card guys, and each group thought the other guy were, a lot of things, let's call it. So we went in and I remember I qualified second, and I used to pay a lot of attention to qualify back then because I thought it was really important. And Chip allowed me to complete the run in the morning, and I got really pissed. I said, oh, we got too much understeer. should have let me run again. I'm like, nope. And I ended up qualifying second, and I was actually really patient in the race. And funny enough, I didn't plan to lead that many. It's like I probably could have led more. And at the beginning of the race, when Greg was leading, I was just riding behind him until we got to some traffic, and I got a run on him, and I passed him, and that was it.
So you get a win that for Chip, and then you talked about how important qualifying might or might not be. You come back, you win for Roger, which is pretty cool that you've given a win to the two most famous owners maybe in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway history. But just to prove that maybe qualifying didn't matter, you sort of get involved in an incident that isn't yours at the start of the 2015 Indianapolis 500. You go all the way to the back. What was your mindset there going to? Were you able to say, "Hey, qualifying doesn't matter. I'm okay at the back. I'm going to work my way through"?
Well, honestly, when you're a Penske that puts so much effort in qualifying, it's so stressful. It is honestly so freaking stressful in there that I always focus more on making sure the race car was good. The year after, like 16, where where we really struggled, we thought we were okay, and we just waiting the truck to come to us. They're waiting for the truck to come to us, and the truck never came, and we were just miles behind. The year we won, I worked really hard on the race cars, and I spent probably an extra day or morning more than everybody else on race trim in our team. And because I just wanted the thing to drive well. And the speed by the end of like qualifying, we were good, but we were outside. And I felt we were really strong in traffic. And, when Simona hit me right before the restart, I thought we were completely screwed. And then they threw the caution out. And that fixed my day. When that caution came out, I'm like, oh, thank God. Because at that point, you don't go all out. If they restart, I need to pit straight away. And I'm going to go a lap or two down. And then the day is over.
Right.
So we were lucky there. And I always look at it. People get really racy at the beginning of the races. And it's 500 miles. It's a long way. We're there for 3 and a bit hours.
Right.
So there's no rush. So the way I looked at it, I said, if I can make top 10 by halfway, then we're not too bad. And then with 50 to go, you need to be in the top 3 or 4, and then you take it from there. I mean, that's really just the case. People forget it. You need to be, if you want to win it, you need to be there at the end, and people forget that.
And it's funny, and you got a chance to work at Penske, working with Rick Mears, sort of in the team there, and that's one of the things he always said. But you talk about being there at the end, and it was a pretty epic battle there at the end with Will and Scott. Talk a little bit about those last few laps. And Scott ends up ultimately fading out a little bit before the end, but the three of you had a pretty good go together.
Oh, it was crazy. So if you look at history, there's always a good chance of a caution at the end of the race. So I thought the best shot, I don't want to have a winning car and be sitting in second waiting for the last lap pass. So my play was, go to the lead, and if you can take the lead, see what happens. If he passes you, just see what you need to do. And I saw he had a lot of understeer. So basically, every time we went into the corner, I looked in the mirror where he was trying to get clean air, and I just shadowed him completely to make it even worse for him. That's all I had to do, and it worked out really well.
So talk a little bit about that strategy. You're paying attention to running 220 plus miles an hour, worrying about lap traffic, and at the same time you're able to understand where your competitor is behind you when you're going through a quarter of a mile corner in a couple of seconds. How are you processing all that?
That's really slow when you're driving it. It really is. It's like when the speed is irrelevant. So it's more about when you're doing a corner, is more about how you position the car, how there's like certain marks and things you want to do when you're in clean air, and certain things more you want to do when you're in traffic to make sure the car turns, to make sure you get to where you need to go, and things like that. And as long as you do that, that's what you need to worry about it. And it's always, the argument, the tougher thing about Indy is the argument between the downforce level. That what normally defines whether you win the race or not. For me, like the last time I did it, that I ran that Fitzgerald car, we were really strong, but we were really strong too late. Because Elio had that big, you remember that thing when Dixon flew over him and all that? Elio lost a piece of the bodywork and he was still very quick. So they came on basically, and everybody else said, you need to take downforce off. And I said, no. And they said, well, we need to. I'm like, no, I need more. No, no, no. And then for the final, like we were running P12. And then for the final stop, I said, look, guys, I'm only doing this race. I don't want to finish here. Can you please put some downforce on? And we did, and I finished 4th or 5th.
Right.
You know, right there at the end, but it was just too late. But it was a fun experience. You know what I mean? The thing with Indy that always freaked me out is the young guys. Because the young guys want to race lap 1 like it's the last lap of the race. I don't know if you watch those iRacing and online racing. You know, you look at them, lap 1, rah, you know, half of the field wiped out on a 500-mile race.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things I think that you've proved over your career, just sort of that race savviness and patience and able to, I mean, you look at your record, you've won virtually everywhere and in everything. When you transition, I want to go back in a minute and I'll talk about Formula One because you had a great run in Formula One and picked up Monaco. And I want to touch a little bit about maybe the future. You know, we hear a lot about the Triple Crown, if you will. There's nobody better positioned. Alonso, people talk about Alonso and the Triple Crown. He's got one race of that in. You've got 2 of them. We can talk about that in a minute because there's some opportunity maybe now going forward with the way IMSA rules are looking at. But you came to the Speedway later in your career before you came back and won the 500 again in a Cup car. And you had some great runs at the Speedway. I think one of the ones that you should have won for sure. They got you on a speeding penalty that I think we still argue may not have been accurate, right? So
that one, and there were 2 where the speeding penalty was one, and the other one, the caution for the water bottle in the acceleration lane in 3 and 4 that was there from the beginning of the race. That one really hurt.
Well, so what was the difference? Was there anything you knew about the Speedway from running the 500 that helped in running a Cup car? Or was it just your mentality about setting a car up to race it with traffic versus setting a car up to go fast by yourself?
I think Indy is so different than the other ovals that driving a Cup car there, the guys that normally drive a Cup car a certain way doesn't work there. And I think that played not into an advantage, but into a more level field. Where when you run the traditional like Texas style oval or mile and a half oval that you run everywhere, there's a certain technique to it. And the guys that done it for a long time, they really understand it. So it makes it a little harder. Where Indy, it's flatter, it's less banking, it's a little trickier.
So you got an opportunity to run Formula One. You ran Grand Am at the Speedway. What was it like going backwards or going forwards the wrong way through oval turn 1?
It was cool. That corner was it was a really interesting track because it made it to the point that you could run minimum downforce, like Monza level downforce, like no downforce, or Monaco downforce, like big wings, big everything, and you would run the same lap time. So the circuit had a really interesting balance between what you could make the lap time on the infield and lose it on the straight, or lose it on the infield and get it back on the straight. So that balance was always very interesting, and it was always a big argument for the races. You know, in qualifying, you always would qualify low because you had the new tires, but then in the race, you know, do you want the degradation or do you want this straight line? You know, I want to be really consistent, but then one of the engineers would go, yeah, but we're going to be, you know, 6 miles an hour slower on the straight. I said, yes, but we're going to be so quick in the corners that they're not going to be able to catch it. Yeah, but you won't be able to pass anybody. Yeah.
Right.
So it was always fun. So it's crazy to think that I've only run, I think, 5 Indy 500s. And I think I did 6 Formula One races there. And I did like 7 Cup races. And it's been fun. I love that place. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And as you said, you know, when I won it in 2000, I had no idea when you win it for Roger, and you know, I've been around longer in that place. I've seen, you know, the museum and the cars and what it really means to people. Indy, that when I won it for Roger meant a lot. I mean, it had been like, it was like 2009, I think was the last time he had won it. So it was 6 years without a win there, and it was good.
You know, I still remember when so you talked a little bit about the F1 course, and then we modified the racetrack a little bit for the IndyCar, where we do the GMR Grand Prix now. And I still remember one of our first practice sessions and the speed. And I think you were the first one to maybe exceed 200 miles an hour going down to the braking zone at turn one. Talk a little bit about the subtle difference maybe between what is now the road course and that road course you ran in F1. You've got the chicane versus the inner loop. A couple of the things have changed there. You actually run inside of turn one instead of around the outside.
So I gotta say, the first part of the track I used to like more the old one, because the chicane going into the back straight, for me, it's like a little chaotic, and it's wide open. I mean, as it's wide open, why is it there? You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. We either put a corner or we don't. But that's just inviting people to you know, to wreck stuff. So the first part of the track used to be, I think, with the way it was you know, I mean, it wasn't quick enough, but it had a lot of technique to it, and you could make a lot of lap time. But the second part of the track right now, with the little S's and everything, is much more fun.
So we you know, we've heard that from drivers. Just it's a little more fun. I don't know if you drove it when it was sort of two 180s together.
Yeah, I did that. That was Mickey Mouse.
And that was one of the things that, you know, that people didn't like about the road course. So, and you know, you talked about how many times you've run the 500. I think you've run 22 official races at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which puts you towards the top of races run by anybody at the Speedway. And it's pretty amazing just the way you've done it across a bunch of different disciplines. You know, I'll go back to where we were talking about, and a lot of fans wanted to ask this question too, that Triple Crown that people talk about, Monaco, Indianapolis, and 24-hour Le Mans. Rules have changed or will be changing.
Yeah, but it will be changed. It was announced today, actually. I saw today some of the stuff.
So is there an opportunity? I know you aren't out parading around maybe like Alonso is, but is there an opportunity for Juan Pablo Montoya to be the guy to win that, the first modern era person to win that Triple Crown?
Well, honestly, I'm pretty excited for the new rules. I mean, right now I'm with Acura and Team Penske, and you know, hopefully the partnership, you know, from my point of view, hopefully the partnership continues, and they still want me to race. You know what I mean? We won the championship last year, so I mean, we won a lot of races, and I think I mean, for me personally, it was a really good year last year. I love racing those cars. I really enjoyed those prototypes. So, for me, if the opportunity came to go to Le Mans with Roger, especially, I would love to be part of that.
It would be an amazing race to have you pick that win up and be able to have that Triple Crown. Speaking of careers and running for Roger and the fun you're having, talk a little bit about, you're having fun with Sebastian right now and getting an opportunity to not just drive, but you're actually coaching a little bit on, and how much are you in a go-kart alongside Sebastian?
In the go-kart, we're not that much, because he's so quick in a go-kart, it's not even fun. I do a little bit of shifter, that he's just started with shifter. And when we started, I could, you know, I mean, run with him. No, I mean, I can run, but he's very quick. You know what I mean? I have a bit of an advantage with you know, because he's so little still, that he doesn't weigh anything. So he gets thrown around a lot. So he suffers a lot, but the speed is incredible. But now, you know, he's moving to cars this year. So he's going to go, his plans to run Italian F4 this year. So it's pretty exciting. We're pretty excited about it. You know, we got to wait and see right now with, you know, with what we're going through right now with the pandemic, what's going to happen. I mean, I had a couple of chats with the team this week and seeing, you know, what are they thinking, what's the plan and everything. We need to see, because right now I think if you want to go to Italy, you need to go and stay in a hotel room for 2 weeks before you can do anything, and it's
right.
Honestly, it doesn't really make sense.
So just going back and maybe talking about your karting, what made you end up at Skip Barber in the U.S. and so you actually you were in the U.S. You win an F3000 championship. You come back to the U.S. It's pretty diverse, a diverse background.
It's crazy, yeah.
How did you end up here?
So I was gonna race. I did go-karts. I did 14 years of go-karts, and by year 12 of go-karts, I started racing cars in Colombia. They took these Formula cars, like, at the time, like a little USF. You know what I mean? A little Formula cars, 2-liter engines, to Colombia, brand new series. And coming from karting, they said, "Well, you have no experience, so you can't race this. So if you want to race this, you need to go and do a school." So we went to Sonoma. We did the Skip Barber driving school. And I went to Colombia. I raced there for a year. I drove all kinds of cars. And then I did barbershop for a year. And then I moved to Europe for 4 years, I think. Four years. Yeah, I did Vauxhall F3, 2 years of 3000. That is called F2 now. And at the end of that, the last year that I was a Williams test driver, I thought I had a good chance of getting the seat because I was pretty quick at the end of the year. And they decided to take Sonotti and Ralph. And so at that point, I thought, I'm screwed. Like, what the hell am I gonna do? That was always the concern of being a test driver, is you get to be a test driver, but a lot of times you never get the opportunity to race. And Ganassi Chip came to the test. It was first Sonotti test in the F1 in Barcelona, and I was there testing. And he offered me a deal, and I came, and we had a lot of success together. We had a really good run together. And honestly, out of the blue, Frank called me one day. I was actually in Colombia doing some media, and he said, "Hey, do you want to do F1?" And I go, "Yes." Okay. It was honestly was a 5-minute conversation. I said, "Yeah, but I have a deal with Ganassi." I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll talk to Chip. I'll figure it out." I said, "Okay." And that was it.
Yeah, and you and Chip did have, over the course of a couple of years, I think you won a championship. You won 10 or 11 races together. Why do you think those 2 years were so successful for you?
I think he had a really good group of people. People what makes great race teams, and he did a good job. He did a good job managing the people. They had really good people in the right places, and they have a great organization. And honestly, the second year when we went to that Lola, it was tough. The car was really quick, but it broke down so many times. Like, I think I led more laps in 2000 than 99, and in 99 I won 7 races. In 2000 I won like 3. It was crazy. I led, I think everywhere I raced I led, and then the thing would just, I ended up with the shifter lever maybe 2 or 3 times in my hand. It was just crazy.
So as you are focused on your sports car racing, do you pay attention to the IndyCar stuff? Obviously, you get a chance to hang out with the guys on the sports car side and the Penske team, but are you still staying up with the IndyCar racing and what's going on with it?
Yeah, a little bit. I do. Yeah, I mean, I do follow it. I watch the races. I watch some of the Cup races as well. My wife really loves watching the races. So when we're at home, she wants to watch more races than me. So I don't have a choice.
So do you think you'll ever run Indy again? Are you done with Indy and gonna?
I think the 500, I'm probably done. I don't know. I think the risk against the reward is not worth it at this point. You know what I mean? I don't have anything. I've won it twice out of 5 times. I don't really have anything to prove. You know what I mean? If winning a 3rd time would change my life, I would definitely do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I think the sports car program, a part that I love driving the cars. If you looked at a scale of everything that I've driven, you would go F1, you would go the kart car from back in the day, and I would put the sports car 3rd above the current Indy car.
So how would you, you've got you've got a whole list of epic racetrack wins: Indianapolis, British Grand Prix, Monaco. I mean, there's a whole bunch of Italian Grand Prix, 24 Hours at Daytona. Do you have in your mind a way you would rank a race that meant more to you than another, or are they just also special in their own way?
I keep telling people the day I retire, I'm going to look back and say, oh, that was really cool. I won that. And I still don't. Honestly, the number one race special for me was winning my first IndyCar race in Long Beach. Because the way I looked at it, I had an opportunity that Chip gave me. And when I won that race, I felt I made it. You know what I mean? Like, I can survive. I have a career out of this. So that really meant a lot.
And Long Beach would be another, it's an epic race too, right? I mean, that if you think about the two races
honestly,
in the US,
I think
right?
if I would have won it in the biggest dump on earth, I still would have think it was one of the greatest races. And it is. I mean, winning Monaco meant a lot for me because I was a huge Senna fan. So winning there, it meant the world. Winning for Roger and Chip, both the 500s were really special. Monza was really cool, but for some reason, every time I went to Monza, I had a shot at winning. It was crazy. It was just one of those things that just, one of those tracks that just click.
So walking out race morning for the Indy 500, your rookie year, and even in 2015 when you win, describe a little bit for fans. You've spent a couple of weeks at the Speedway. You're practicing. Crowds are down. Some practice days, it's just the people on the inside of the track, not outside. Especially your rookie year, was that a surprise to you when you walked out and just saw the number of people that are actually in the grandstands for that event?
So my biggest thing was everybody was telling me, it's like, you need to be careful on race day because once the stands are full, the track gets really narrow. And that was just in my mind, from everybody all week kept telling me this. AJ Foyt, you name Loyendyke, everybody's like, you need to be careful on race day because the track. And I remember I went out and I was running behind the pace car doing the parade lap, and I'm looking at the track and it looks the same. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? So for me, it was crazy because I was really expecting the track to be different, and it wasn't. It was like, oh, it's the same thing.
So it didn't bother you? It didn't impact you really at all?
No. It was, I mean, I was, I don't know. The thing that I think always helped me at Indy and all the big races is that I'm not that attached to history. I love old race cars. I love watching them. I love looking at them. I would love to drive some, I think it would be the coolest, like a 962 Porsche or cars like that. I would love to drive just to have a go and see, or an old Formula One car, stuff like that. I would love to, to drive it properly. I think that would really be cool. But to go, oh my God, that car made this history and that history, and this is, it's like the people that grew up with Indy, there's, and a lot of them live there. When you live at Indy, right, it's like, oh my God, it's the Speedway. So they freak the hell out. So, you don't even have to do anything. You already beat those guys.
That's an interesting one. By the way, that's how I feel every day when I go to the office. I
exactly.
I freak out. I mean, it is an amazing place.
I mean, it is an unbelievable place. But when it comes down to business, you don't think about it. If you have a meeting in the pagoda, you don't walk to the pagoda and go, oh my God, it's the pagoda. You just go into the pagoda, press the elevator, and go up. And that's the way. Yes, when first time I went to Indy was to do a seat fitting in '98. I went to Indy while the seat was drying. I went to the Speedway, and I looked at the museum, and I took the bus to look at the Speedway. And I was the only guy on the bus. And it was pretty amazing. When that little bus, it takes a long time from one end to the other. It's like you don't realize how long those straights are. you guys let us, when I was, when I did it the last few years, you always let us bike in the morning.
Yep.
And it's a long straight.
Yeah, it's, especially if the wind's at your face. It's not fun on a bike for sure in that situation. So I do know that some of the folks have posted questions, and you touched on a little bit. If you could drive anything, what would it be? And you touched on an old F1 car, a 962. I mean, those 962s. I can't imagine the opportunity to get in one of those and drive it. Are those cars that you would drive, or is there something else in your mind that if somebody said, "Hey, come drive this," and like you said, drive it properly, what's out there in your mind you'd love to drive?
I was always a huge fan of IMSA when they had the Nissan, the twin turbo Nissan. That was always really cool. I was always a big fan of the big Jaguar car. You remember the
Yep.
44 with the
Yep.
that car was always made my day. Would love to drive an all F1 car with like turned up engine, like qualifying, like, oh my god, this thing's gonna go.
Yeah.
Old IndyCar cars, you know what I mean? There's so many cool cars. Like in the 90s, early 90s Indy cars, they look so cool. I remember I used to run Barber sub, so I remember I took it was in Detroit. I took a picture with Mansell, and I got an autograph from Paul Tracy. I did.
That's awesome. And you're right. Those early '90s Indy cars were really special. Lots of horsepower, just really cool looking cars. And you and I kind of grew up. I'm a little older than you, but we sort of grew up in that same area. Those sports cars back in the early '80s, late through the late '80s, were some pretty special cars.
They were proper cars.
Right. Absolutely. And not enough technology in them. Right. It really was down to the driver and just kind of the rough feel of it. So do you have a particular? Obviously, I assume you've got a pretty good Acura or something that you.
Yeah, I drive an MDX actually, because I got a family. I got kids. I love my MDX, and I go everywhere on it, and that's it. I mean, the wife drives another SUV, and I don't know. I don't have any fancy. The fanciest car I have right now is the pace car from 2015. That has got like 200 miles.
So you've got 3 kids. Are all 3 racing or just Sebastian?
Just Sebastian. The girls are not interested at all.
Not at all. Have they tried it before?
Zero. Like, I would really go in racing again? Oh my God. Yeah, no.
So if Sebastian's going to run in Italy, are you going to spend some time over there, or how are you going to manage that?
I spend one of the cooler things with IMSA for me, a part that at this point in my career is really cool, because only 10 race weekends. So it fits in really well. If you look at it, we have the first race in January, last race in October, normally. And we got quite big breaks, and we don't do a lot of testing. So I have a lot of time to go and spend time with Sebastian, like last year when he was racing karting. And so a lot of the times I went to Europe, spent time with him, and went to the race from there. Because sometimes the IMSA races are like 2 or 3 weekends in a row, and then you get a month off. So it works well.
That's fantastic. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to come on tonight. This is the first one of these that we've done in the series. We're going to try and do these every Thursday night. And when the team told me that you were going to be the inaugural one, I'm pretty excited.
You were like, oh no, I wanted Elio.
No, I'm excited. And I don't know when you got on, but I literally just came from the Speedway. Roger's in town. Roger wanted me to pass along a hello to you. He gets into the Speedway every once in a while just to kind of check in. And
how's the Speedway looking? Because I know he's. I mean,
well, you probably know as well as anybody. The guy is fully into details, right?
It's unbelievable. I tell you, I think people don't understand the benefits of the Speedway, having it on Roger's side. It's gonna look better than ever. I think the experience for the people is gonna be better than ever. So if you ever wanted to go to Indy, this year would be probably one of the best years of the 500.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, he spent all his time really focused on investing in things that make the customer's experience better. It's not things that necessarily make the P&L of the company look better, but certainly makes a difference for the customers. And I'm sure you got it too when the phone rings at midnight, and then you get off the phone and it rings again at 3 in the morning. I'm not sure that he sleeps. He certainly works really hard, and he loves racing, and racing is is really important to him. And I think our fans, you're exactly right, are going to notice it. The sad thing right now is if you go to the Speedway, the place looks beautiful, and I sit there and it's May, and we're not going to get to host folks here until July, and then again in August. So I can't wait. I know Roger can't wait, but thanks for all you do. Thanks for continuing to be so passionate about the sport. One of the things I always loved about you too is the fact that you are passionate. So when you are.
But that's why I do it. I think people don't understand the reason. Like, the reason I moved the series is not because I wanted to experience something new. I just when you do it because you love it, and you lose that, you shouldn't be there. You're not going to perform, you're not going to enjoy it, and you're going to be miserable. So for me, the things kept lining up to where I am right now, and I'm very grateful. I'm so grateful that Acura and Team Penske gave me this opportunity to be part of this program. I love the program, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
Well, we are certainly proud of you and all that you've done. It's not a lot of people that can say they won the 500, and even less that can say they won it more than once, and that certainly you can. And then when you look at your resume and where you've won, the things you've done, someday when you decide to slow down, you'll be able to look back and I think feel pretty proud of your accomplishments. And then maybe Sebastian can come on your heels and try and win 3 Indy 500s, which would be pretty cool.
That'd be amazing.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll let you get back to the family tonight. I'm gonna disconnect here with the fans. Just give them a thank you for being here. But look forward to seeing you at a racetrack soon, Juan.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Well, fans, there you go. An evening with Juan Pablo Montoya, which is kind of cool. It would have been a lot more fun if we were doing it from the Yard of Bricks, but I'm doing it from my basement, and obviously Juan Pablo is doing it from his home as well. But thank you so much for continuing to be passionate about the Speedway, hanging with us. As I said at the beginning of this, the month of May really is about what goes on at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, certainly in central Indiana and the Midwest. And our friends at Miller Lite have been great partners through that and given us great opportunities to celebrate. And like I said, everywhere you go in central Indiana, you know that it's May, thanks to great partners like Miller. And thanks to them and this idea, we get an opportunity every Thursday now at 7:30. We'll sit down with you and an Indy 500 winner and talk a little bit about what it means to them to have won the 500, try and learn a little bit more about them like we did with Juan. It was kind of fun to hear his take on a lot of things there. But we're fortunate that our sport has drivers who care as much about you guys as just about any sport, and for them to take that time to help us have a great evening like this. So again, the good news, NASCAR back on track in about 10 days at Darlington and in Charlotte. We get to watch that on TV. The NTT IndyCar Series back on track in June, getting a chance to see that. We're working really hard at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to make sure that we're back on track. July 4th weekend, we've got the GMR Grand Prix Indy cars alongside the Pennzoil 150 with the Xfinity cars on Saturday and the Big Machine Vodka 400 with the Cup cars on Sunday. We've talked an awful lot about a doubleheader between IndyCar and Cup on the same weekend. And at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, July 4th weekend, you get an opportunity to see your favorite IndyCar drivers and your favorite NASCAR Cup drivers on the same weekend at your favorite racetrack, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Thanks so much, guys. I look forward to seeing y'all. And it's kind of fun to do a Speedway event with no tie. I appreciate the polo shirt that my friends at Miller sent me so that I could take a tie off. And now I'm going to maybe open up these Miller Lights behind me and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thanks so much, guys. We'll be in touch.